when we introduce things as lived practice, in day-to-day practice, right? When we make changes to our own behaviors and we make changes to our own spaces, to our own schools. So here there are, in the same project we would have put bird baths out, which are easy to put, but then they require cleaning every day and they need fresh water every day, and so often that falls to the wayside after a while. Feeders, nest boxes are something that every school can have. At the farm, for us, it means looking at what kind of trees we should plant to attract the right bird life, to attract more bird life. So let's attack this third bucket first, right? It's, according to me, probably the most important, because today it's well researched that knowledge doesn't lead to action, right? Practiced action leads to action. So taking a person from ignorance to knowledgeable is far easier than it is to take a knowledgeable person and make them cross that threshold into being active citizens. And we have to really question how much we are allowing that to happen in our schools with our children, right? So this breaks down into the fact that if we do a lesson about the ill effects of plastic, our kids are not going to go home and start changing things just because they know the ill effects of plastic. But if we do something about it in our own environments, in school, if we go and analyze where there's a lot of plastic waste, if we look at what the possible solutions could be, if we let children drive this process, if we find sustainable ways of being, that is going to put into practice something that will cannonball, that will snowball at home, right? Just as a small example, we all use hand wash in our schools, right? And most often we use Tetra Packs, like these sort of refill options. We get those big sort of plastic cans that we put in. But today, people are making handmade soap. If you have someone in the area, you can go have them fill up your own jerry cans. And if not, I'm not asking you to start doing handmade soaps, right? That takes a lot of time. But these are options that are easily available now. You get sachets which have powder, and children can just take that powder as an EPL activity, put it into, like, cut the sachet, put the powder into the jar, add the water to the right level, and then that's it. You've got your soap, right? But these things need to be looked at, need to be sort of done in collaboration with the children. So I usually, when I work with schools, let the older children identify these issues and identify the solutions. And the things they come up with will surprise you. Children have the best network. They will pester every single person they meet over the next month, to find the best solutions. Whereas we would sort of have done a Google search. These are bioenzymes. This is another great sort of activity in school. This is an excellent EPL for a slightly higher age group, also great for lower age groups. Basically, it's a cleaner where you ferment peels. So you ferment citrus peels, to make your floor cleaner. We haven't bought at the farm any kind of Lysol or that kind of product in, I don't know, years now. And it can also be used as a toilet cleaner when it's concentrated. So it takes no work. You have to just take the peels, mix them in a ratio with jaggery and water, and then let them be in that can for a month. And just keep opening the can daily once in the morning so that the air comes out, right? So an easy activity for schools to follow. There are so many of these. Sometimes, one of my biggest regrets is sort of discovering composting so late. I started doing it only when I moved to the farm. And that's a whole lifetime of putting peels into the bin, right? But that doesn't need to be. And composting is so beautiful when done with children. There's so much to learn from it. And eventually they're going to use that compost in the garden. They're going to put it in the pots. It's a full cycle. And yes, I got a little voice note from Vihan saying that his mum will not help him in the process because of all the bugs, but she had bought him the composter. She made him do it. She did it with him. And yes, it was a very sweet grumble of all the work I only have to do. And it's like this with everything. You can have the children research waste management practices. A lot of the solutions are very local, so I'm not going to go into things, but we shouldn't be disposing our batteries, our electronic waste and various things into the same buckets as we do everything else. We should be ideally like reducing the waste to almost negligible in schools, because It's something we can do, and unless we can do it in a school and show that to our children, it's going to be hard to take it back into the community. How much paper do we use every day, right? Usually, recycling paper is something that I've seen many schools do, but very few schools do it as an actual, real practice. It's always an activity that's shown to the kids, right? And this is how we do it, a wonderful tick. But this could just become a station that's there that the child can choose to go to when they want, independently work with, and repeat as many times as they want to. You can't have enough paper in a school. And finally, well, there are many more, but finally, here, right now, creating sort of small wild spaces, creating spaces where life can thrive is actually not impossible, even in the most built up of areas. You don't have to have a large garden. I've seen schools which exude green, just from how they use their corridors, how they use their halls, how they use their common areas, what they put under the stairs, what's hanging from, like the floor above. It's just so much, and when you have plants, you are going to have small life coming to them. And in fact, you can encourage that by creating a little, sort of giving it a bit of a push, attracting life to the school. The first one is actually a nest material dispenser. So birds will come and take material out of this. You can put dog fur, moss, grasses, anything. Then of course bird feeders. The last one is an insect hotel, which young Mahika had made with me in class and then taken home. But she had assured me that there are no insects in her house, and there will be no insect coming to her hotel. What is the point? And then I got a voice message again from this child. So I very graciously sent one back saying, I told you so. But it's a lovely activity. Also because really we learn so much about penguins and polar bears, and not enough at all about insects and arachnids and worms. And these are the animals that our survival literally depends upon. One of my favorite nature educators and humans, Yuvan, wrote this really powerful thing where he says detritivores, which are basically animals that eat dead stuff, are powerful metaphoric beings which wield the power to transition death into life, waste into compost and fertility. And they can be synonymous to healing, restoration, and transformation of land, water, and possibly ourselves. And I think that's such a beautiful way for someone to look at these same creatures as most of the world sees and goes, ew. They do the most work for us actually, and I think attract the least gratefulness. Okay, so the second bucket that we were discussing was, that I was lecturing you on, was going outdoors, right? So this is something that we do at the farm, and something that, let's face it, is now a requirement in cities, because a lot of our cities look like this, right? We don't, like, if I don't need to take Rahil to a third place to teach him about the outdoors, but you cannot, there are a lot of restrictions when you live in an environment or a habitat like this. We get many schools coming over. We do a lot of programs for children, a lot of sort of, different themes, everything from space to genetics to outdoor survival. Here, children are building shelters and hides, or they're building rafts and launching them. And it's just amazing, when they first sort of, they plan their rafts on paper, they use carpentry tools, cut the bamboo, you lash the bamboo. It's really hard work. And they get these rafts ready. And when it's time to launch them, you can see them all sitting on it like eyes closed and praying, please let it float. Even though in 30 seconds they're going to jump off into the water and have, a good splash around, but it's just a wonderful moment. There's canopy access. This child is catching grasshoppers to feed to some of the animals on the farm. Children are making habitats for different kinds of animals. So because we have, a lot of animals that we've adopted, we have the option of doing these kinds of things. So this is a mouse house. Children are camera trapping to see what what goes by at night. And then of course many walks. Yeah, this is an area where you can give kids a lot of choice, going on all kinds of different walks. That's a praying mantis exoskeleton that one child found on a scavenger hunt. My son has been waking up at the crack of dawn every day since he was born. And every morning he would choose his walk. So he would say, today, like, well, obviously when he was about 3 or so, but he would, request a bird walk or a mushroom walk or a plant walk or a stick walk or a treasure walk. Later on, his favorite actually became plastic walks, mainly because he could use the grab stick to, clean the plastic from the lake and things like that. But again, I think giving choice to the child is really essential in anything that we teach, including nature. It might be harder because we don't look at nature as something that we have a curriculum already for, right? It's already on the go and you're already having to, it's already adding to your work sometimes. So now how to come up with 5 options? But it's not that hard. We usually just ask the children which topic they would like to do next. We ask them, would you like to do birds, plants, and children constantly are, putting in these little chits with their suggestions. The process can be democratic, it can be rotational, it can be anything. But taking cues of children is really what Montessori has always been about. So, we can't really stop there. Because we work with snakes, we do a lot of, the children get to see a lot of that work. That's actually venom extraction, that a tiny bit of venom is the amount of venom that a really large snake would take out. That's a lot of venom in a venom extraction. It's sort of hitting gold. And then we have children, who've been coming to us repeatedly for years, come as volunteers. They work with the snakes. They do actual tasks, like not things they be doing for simulation or for their benefit. They actually work on things that we need done. All kinds of stuff, like every day there's work to be done with the animals. Every day there's enclosures to be built and repaired and all kinds of stuff. And my recommendation would be that whatever place you work with for your outdoor programs, that you engage with them over the year at different times and for a large number of years. Because while it's attractive to go and see one thing here and one thing there, the kind of benefit you get from deep engagements, the kind of things that the children can then get to do, and also the kind of attachment the children find, make with that wilderness, with that wild space, with that eco-resort or whatever, wherever you're taking them, it's unparalleled. We have Priyasthala, Kavya's right there, I can see her. They come to us every year and have been doing so for years. Their children really keep us on their toes, on our toes rather, sorry, because they are amazing researchers. They'd come this time, this particular one was because they wanted a class pet. And so Kavya, being Kavya, had told them that, you have to sort of pitch ideas on what the class pet could be and do your research on, what's required to take care of them. And so they did that. And then they actually came over to the farm and they took care of all these different animals that they had suggested because we had most of them at the farm. And then they kind of ruled out, definitely not the one we have to catch grasshoppers for every morning, and definitely not that one, and maybe these two. So yes, it was a wonderful, wonderful process to be part of. Yes, and then when it comes to classroom activities, every time any child sees